What's up, fam? Welcome back to Harry Plays. Today we're gonna be reacting to this video. It's called Pokemon has a version exclusive problem. So I just saw the thumbnail, which I don't know if I can pull up right now, but I thought it was interesting. So I just wanted to watch it and I'm give my feedback on it. It's an 8-minute video. Let's just check it out. Alrighty.
Attention, this video does not have an intro. To see the intro, please watch the other version of this video.
Oh no. Oh, I get it.
For
Never
those
mind.
blissfully unaware, the creators of Pokemon, Game Freak, have this funny little habit of releasing two of the same game for the same price, with the only slight adjustment being that some virtual animals can only be found in one or the other.
Which this used to piss me off as a kid. I can't think of what Pokemon it was, but there's Pokemon that I wanted to catch and wanted to use that I'm like, oh wait, that's cool. And then I found out it's not in the game. And I didn't have friends who played Pokemon at the time, which now I do, but at the time I didn't have friends who played Pokemon. So I couldn't trade.
The phrase,
Now I know you just go on Reddit and find people to trade with, but you know.
gotta catch 'em all, is a lie. Because in most games,
You can't.
Oh, in Scarlet, you get access to Stunky and Skuntank, but in Violet,
Wait.
you get Gulpin and Swallow.
So they're both
I wonder
ass.
How many sales of each game were decided on this one factor? Maybe
They're both
like
ass anyway.
0? And we all know why Game Freak does this. It's because they plan we're going to buy both versions to.
Which, who has the money to buy both versions of the game? Do you know how expensive Pokemon games are now? They're not $60 anymore. They're $80 plus tax, which is probably like in Canada, it's like $90 to $100.
To complete the Pokedex. But if they think a sizable amount of people will do that, they're inhaling more copium than the Unova fans who still believe we're getting black and white remakes any earlier than 2026. And this is not a problem that is going away. In fact, Pokemon are getting statistically less accessible. In Red and Blue, not counting evolution lines, there were 6 Pokemon that could only be caught in one of the games.
Okay.
In Scarlet and Violet, there were 23.
Did I finish the Scarlet and Violet Pokedex? I think I did. That means I had to have traded for 23 freaking mons? It's because of the paradox. Which, the paradox kind of makes sense for the game though. Right? Because you need the past version and the future version, so.
Almost 4 parties worth of Pokemon that you can't get through normal means. Yes, I know this is partially because these games have slightly different stories. Different crazy neglectful professors.
Yeah, exactly what I said, yeah.
Different sandwich eating motorbikes that they get clapped by. This spawns in a whole array of other Pokemon from 2 different timelines. But plot relevance or not, Paradox Pokemon are being put in the version exclusive pile. And it's not
Which
just
makes
the main
sense.
series that has this paywalled phenomenon. For how much love I give the Mystery Dungeon series, it too has its fair share of
There's version exclusives for Mystery Dungeon? I never played the game, so I would never know.
exclusives. Even if there are no rewards for recruiting every Pokemon to your cult, I mean Adventure Squad, I'd be pretty bummed out if I realized I couldn't roleplay as my favorite virtual animal. Ever wondered who the Pokemon that's been version exclusive the most is? You might think Caterpie or Weedle. It turns out Pinsir
Which
is the
makes
most
sense.
elusive bug of all time.
Which makes sense. Pinsir and Heracross are like opposite of each other, right?
Being unobtainable in at least one version of a game a whopping 8 times.
Damn.
Whereas, like, who want me? Well, clearly Game Freak only thinks 50% of people do. Of course, you also have the version exclusive Megas from X and Y, and there are also version exclusives in the movies.
Oh, this movie tripped me out as a kid. Because I was like, I remember seeing I remember seeing Reshiram. And then I watched it again and I'm like, I remember seeing Zekrom. I'm like, wait, what's happening? This movie threw me off for a loop.
Ash's Tranquil appears in both versions of White, Victini and Zekrom, and Black, Victini and Reshiram. However, in Victini and Zekrom, Wild Tranquil also appear in the intro. Oh great, what a wonderful use of animation budget. Now I get it, from an outsider's perspective, this might not seem that deep. So what if I can't use Mawile during a playthrough of Pokemon Sapphire? Well, you're right. Apart from the completionists that wanted 100% dex completion, it wasn't. You just picked the version that had the Pokemon you liked more, and that was that.
Which is why from Sword and Shield on, I always chose the game people were not going to choose. So Sword and Shield, people always talk about picking Sword, so I went with Shield. Scarlet and Violet, that one was actually pretty 50-50, but I went with Violet because a lot of people liked Scarlet, and I ended up knowing why, because Scarlet has the better trade-off ones, but I always went with the lesser version, so it's easy for me to trade.
Problem now is that Pokemon have decided to hide pretty useful items behind Pokedex completion. Take Scarlet and Violet for example. These diplomas for completing your Pokedex actually mean something. For the main Pokedex, you received a Shiny Charm, which triples the chance of you finding a palette-swapped virtual animal, and for completing the Kitakami Pokedex, you'll be entrusted with the Glimmering Charm, an actual useful item that lets you get more shards from Terrorings. Sure, these items
I never did that.
Anything, they're only making processes easier. I mean, shiny Pokemon are completely cosmetic. Maybe you should bother hunting for a job application instead. Let's not forget.
You didn't have to do me like that. The job market is the job market is so hard right now. Let's not even talk about that. That makes me depressed.
Forget about the version exclusive legendary Pokemon either. Not the ones on the cover. It's pretty easy to figure out that they won't exactly be shared. I'm talking about the rest of them. Hey dude, are you a fan of Palkia from the critically acclaimed video game Pokemon Pearl? Well, finally after 8 years, you can now rediscover the ancient beast in Omega Ruby and not Alpha.
Yeah, they did that with Scarvy too, with the guy after the last DLC where you have to talk to him and he gives you stuff, gives you like legendaries to go on. You can only do one of the versions of the legendaries, I'm pretty sure.
Sapphire, and of course you need both of them in your party to encounter Giratina. Don't worry, I'm sure this was all done for completely valid reasons that are not predatory whatsoever.
Money.
And sometimes Game Freak are nice and give us what I've coined version rare Pokemon. This happens when two Pokemon have a relationship where one is super common in one game, while the other is less likely to show up than Ash's father, and vice versa. This gives the illusion of a version exclusive, when in reality you just need to roll around in the grass for an hour like someone who's just taken hay fever tablets for the first time.
Okay.
But what happens when something objectively important to a player base becomes locked?
Like what?
These two are Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire.
These two, I mean, at least Raging Bolt is like really used competitively, which I know. Gouging Fire, not as much. These two are so much better than what we got for Violet with Cobalions and Verzion. Like, oh my god, they look awful. I don't know. The Terrakion one is not awful. I mean, they're all not awful, but look at these. Look at these. And did you see Suicune? What's it called? Gouging? No. It's called whatever it's called. And that's so cool.
You may know these guys from classics such as Pokemon Gold and Silver or Jurassic Park 2, and they're pretty good in battle. In fact, they're currently the 4th and 15th most common Pokemon found on teams in the official competitive format VGC. Oh wow, how can I get them? Well, it's quite simple, budding competitive player. First, you have to complete the main story of the game. Then pay $35 for the game's DLC. Catch 150 unique Pokemon in one section of the DLC, and complete a whole side story in that section too. After that, you catch 200.
I forgot you had to do all that.
Another section of the DLC, and Raging Bolt is now ready for collection.
Wait, but that's
so I spent a bunch of time doing.
Like, I get what he's trying to say. And she's probably going to be like, "Oh, if you chose Violet, you get screwed over." But that's how games are. You need to complete objectives in order to get the prize. You do all that to get the prize, which is Raging Bolt and Gouging Fire, which are two amazing mons. I think the grind is worth it. Maybe not for some people. It's an $80 video game. You want to be able to like progress and do stuff, challenge yourself, and have some challenges. If you just give into it, it loses its value, in my opinion. But I know that's not the point he's trying to say. The point is you do all that to you're gonna get Gouging Fire, and then you get this thing.
Doing that, and all I got was this weird goat thing instead. Aha, my bad. I forgot to mention, this all has to be done in Pokemon Scarlet. Otherwise, your efforts amount to literally nothing. What? Sorry, I guess you should have built a time machine, gone back in time, and known that 1, these guys were going to exist,
I would have chose
and
Scarlet
2,
if
they
I
were
got to
going to be
choose
decent and competitive. Now, this usually wouldn't be a problem because the top VGC players would always hack their Pokemon in, but these days the Pokemon company has clamped
more
down
sense.
super hard on detecting and punishing any Pokemon that look to be generated illegally. This leaves some competitive players either scrounging for someone else's or having to spend almost $100 completing a game they basically already own.
There's a thing that Patter said when I watched one of his videos. That was like they should have something like PK Hex, which if you guys don't know what PK Hex is, maybe I'm not allowed to explain that. Probably not. It's a service where you gen Pokemon, but they should have a service like that where you can build your Pokemon and not having to worry about the grinding them. Because the good point he made was like, think about like Valorant. You don't craft your gun before you go into competitive. You already have everything done. Overwatch, same thing. Like competitive, I'm pretty sure League is like that too. You don't like make your build before you go in. You just choose your build, which is how it should be. You should be able to just choose your build. But it's other than we'll see what they do. Which next game is AZ. So they're probably not going to do anything. Sorry, Z8, but they're not going to do anything for that. But Gen 10, I hope they make that change. Like, I don't like going to competitive because it's grinding. And I feel like a lot of people feel the same way about that too. So we'll see.
Having said that, though, there remains the age-old counterpoint. Why don't you just trade for the other version exclusives?
Because no one's gonna do that for it.
I never knew that.
Sure, there are some
And you have to pay.
flops such as Nintendo Switch Online costing money, but yeah, this is more or less still true. You can just trade with someone who has the different version to complete your Pokedex. But where's the fun in that? Like, instead of going out into the wilderness to find these creatures, I'm stuck navigating through a Wi-Fi menu. Hello,
Which I
this
don't
is
like
Nintendo
either.
Support. How can I help you? Yeah, so my Nintendo Switch Online ran out while I was trading my Charizard, and now it looks a bit different. I'm so sorry about that. To fix this
Is that a
problem,
Yu-Gi-Oh
as well
reference?
as your new appearance, we'll need you to pay your annual $19.99 as soon as possible. What do you mean my appearance? I wanted to be
It's a Bakugan.
not just gotta catch
Right?
the majority of them and then exchange some of them on the stock market. I think this is why I liked Legends Arceus so much.
'Cause you can
still
catch
have the
everything.
Opportunity to trade if you
More reasons why Legends Arceus is one of the best Pokemon games ever. It's one game. You don't have to trade for anything. Even like trade evolutions have given the link cable. Oh my god, they were so good. Oh, these are not real glasses, by the way.
wanted to, but it wasn't instrumental in completing
July and April?
unless you didn't want to collect all those little Korok seed wisps in the Spiritomb quest, of course. And when you receive a traded Pokemon, it wouldn't automatically register in your Pokedex. You'd actually have to go out and, you know, research it.
I didn't know
swear,
that.
I don't just enjoy torturing the wildlife with legendaries. But let me know your thoughts on version exclusive Pokemon. Do you like them? Do you wish they'd never been born? And if you think I deserve it, consider giving this video a like or subscribing to the channel
I'll
for
do
more
both.
videos.
I'll do
And I'll
both.
see you next time.
I feel like, speaking of patterns, I feel like I don't know what they can do about version exclusive. If they can just, I know they're never gonna do it, but if they just make one game, all these problems are gone. But then they can't make the difference. It's like Scarlet and Violet needed to do the two separate things, but maybe Black and White, you didn't have to separate them. Maybe Sword and Shield, you definitely didn't have to separate them. Like, separate them, make them think people are buying more games. Yada yada yada. So we'll see what happens. I think they should get rid of trade evolutions because I don't have any friends to trade with.